What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing a mock of PFF's brand new 3-round mock draft. If you guys are new, we'd love you guys to stick around. I always love being able to look at Trevor Sikkema's work, someone who I respect a lot in the industry, and 3 rounds is awesome. If it were 2 or 1, then we'd be continuing it, but obviously it gets a little bit laborious after 100 picks, so let's jump right into this. Obviously, if you guys have not checked out already, I just dropped my edge rushing rankings, and again, if you guys do not already know, all my files got deleted, so it's been a while, and I really appreciate your guys' support and patience on me being able to get these out. Cornerbacks will be dropping soon, as well as actually I'm building right here on this screen wide receivers. So stay tuned because it is really fun. It's a lot of work, and it's definitely a good way to show a very unique perspective because I know I don't agree with everybody. But number 1 overall, Carolina goes CJ Stroud. I think this is a pretty much foregone conclusion for the most part. Some people say that they really love Bryce Young, but we know QB is going to be the number 1 pick. And I feel like the 1-2 will be Stroud Young. That just feels like the lock at the moment. And, Carolina, I think CJ might be the best fit with Frank Reich and Josh McCown there. But, you never know. Bryce Young is my number 1 quarterback. You guys get to see it right under my face. That's my board. So, feel free to comment on it. It's actually a brand new board as well. You'll see one name pretty far down the list, and that's obviously never set in stone until draft day, but, definitely until more news comes out, he's going to remain there at 20. You guys actually don't get to see it yet, but as we go later into this, you guys will have to check the big board for when it moves. But the Cardinals then go Will Anderson. Obviously, no trades at this point, but Will Anderson's awesome. He was misused there at Alabama. I go into more depth in it in the video where I describe my top 10 edge rushers. And, I think he's going to have a better NFL career than he did in college. And that's really insane because he was absolutely dominant there at Alabama. I really do think that Alabama misused a lot of their players. And might come to a surprise when a lot of them actually end up performing very, very well, even better than what they did there. Anthony Richardson is the next pick to the Colts. I think that he definitely makes total sense as a guy who Shane Steichen could totally work with. He has great mobility. He has a little bit of a wild cannon. And to be fair, Jalen Hurts, when coming into the league, did not have the most polished passing ability, and he had really good running ability. I think that it would be a great choice to bring on Anthony Richardson. I know not many people fully agree with that, but for me, I think it's the best, I would say maybe second best situation. I would love to see him with Frank Reich. I really would, but not at number 1 overall. If Frank decides to trade back to 4, then we could talk about it. But pick number 5. Seahawks going Tyree Wilson. Obviously, they invested a crap ton into that defensive interior with that huge contract to Draymond Jones. So, obviously, Jalen Carter not in that mix. And definitely one of the players I was talking about who's down on my board. But I do think Seattle should be looking for an every down lineman, and he's somebody who has so much ceiling to him, 35.5-inch arms, somebody who has put 50 pressures up as a raw pass rusher. He knows how to use his power very well, and he's still developing overall. Pete Carroll could make this guy into a superstar. One of my favorite spots for him to go in the entire draft. Detroit Lions then going Christian Gonzalez. I don't think this is likely, and this was released earlier today. I don't really understand after signing 2 corners, 2 contracts, that you have to send the number 6 pick here. But I do understand that if you are not trading, you're pretty much down to take a DB, take Will Levis, or take a risk on Jalen Carter. And I don't really think that Dan Campbell is the type of guy who wants a guy who has potential concerns over his mentality, over his motor. So for me, I do understand this one. Again, if you're not trading out, it's finally a great time for Detroit to pull into Philadelphia Eagles, trade out there, get a future first. Maybe a team like the Titans can move up for Will Levis if they like. But we will definitely see how that goes. It's a tough one there at pick 6. If you are stuck, I think Myles Murphy is still an excellent option as a 3-4 down defensive lineman. But I also know that a lot of people are a lot lower on Myles Murphy. So it's honestly a tough spot. It used to be a great spot because you're going to get somebody who's awesome here, but based on the free agent moves, I don't really know if it's as clear anymore. It's definitely a lot more difficult. Vegas Raiders going Will Levis. I don't personally agree with this one. I think defensive back is now the glaring issue. I think Jimmy G's honestly super fine, especially for that contract. And No, I'm not talking about his looks, even though, we all know porn star Jimmy. Like, shout out to Stephen A for actually coining something good for once. But, Jimmy G, I think he's going to be perfectly fine with McDaniels. We all forget how damn dominant he was there with McDaniels over in New England. I think he could actually have a very similar run. Just a guy who's really good at distributing distributing the ball, not really getting it in harm's way. I do love what Jimmy G could bring to the table. I do not think Will Levis needs to be the pick, nor should he be. I think guys like Joey Porter would be a great choice here. Devon Witherspoon, pair him back up with Nate Hobbs. Like, there's just better choices in my opinion, but I do understand quarterback is the most valuable position. And if you don't think Jimmy G is the long-term option, which that contract does not say it is, then it's understandable why you would look that way. Falcons then going Joey Porter Jr. I love JPJ. I'm excited to see that people are starting to think he is worth this much. And if he goes to the Falcons, that's ridiculous. It's one of the few teams I don't see JPJ on. And, you guys see it. Joey's my second player overall on my board. I am an absolute huge fan of Joey Porter Jr. But, I'm not going to disagree with it. It's just weird because I've never taken him there. And Devon's on the board. I know they're totally different styles of player. Obviously, one is, I believe, he's not 2, I think he's 4.5 inches taller and weighs about 20 pounds more, and Joey Porter Jr. than Devon Witherspoon. But Devon also has a former defensive coach who is on the defensive staff of Atlanta. So I'd be curious to see how that goes. Obviously, him there with Jesse Bates and AJ Terrell would be ridiculous. I'm not going to disagree with that. But thinking about it logically, I don't know if they pull the trigger on JPJ over Devon Witherspoon. I would. But it's just weird because I've never done that. Chicago Bears going Jalen Carter. Mr. Jabba the Hutt himself. He just definitely, he tanked his draft stock. Obviously, a private workout can totally change things. He decided to, they came out with the verdict. No jail time, 12 months probation. That's probably as good as it's going to get. And, I understand that there have been some conversations over, you're in a tough situation, so sometimes it's hard to, be in complete shape, but he is up 23 pounds over what he was listed at Georgia, up 9 pounds since the combine. That's 13 days. I don't really understand that. I don't think that's water weight. I don't think you'd purposely try to add weight to get up to 323 pounds. So it definitely looks like he might not be the best at self-maintenance, and I'm just putting it very lightly here and very politely. I just don't think that, I'm having the Jamarcus Russell bells ringing, and I pray to God that I am wrong, because I love the talent. He is obviously, to me, he's the number one talent in the class. But at the end of the day, what's in here matters a lot more than what happens on the field, because we've all seen some superstar products just not work because, stuff that is not related to their pure play. So Jalen Carter, very unfortunate, but, he could end up being a really good steal for the Bears. He ends up getting his life in check and, definitely kicking ass, and I would love that for the Chicago Bears because they need a little bit of juice for their future. Eagles then going Devon Witherspoon. They kept Slay and James Bradbury. I don't know what the deal is with Darius Slay. I think they were restructuring his contract, and he wanted 2 extra years. So I'm confused as to why we're going Devon Witherspoon here. To be 100% fair, if Darius does get that 2-year extension, you have 2 corners for at least 3 years. And the top 10 pick, that's very, very tough to send that pick in on. So for me, I am a little bit concerned about that. There's obviously not many positions you can really target. I mean, Fletcher Cox is back, and to be fair, there's nobody who's really worth it at defensive interior at number 10 anyway. But if you do have to hypothesize a pick, you could look at an offensive lineman like Paris Johnson, who can kick into guard, has played at guard before, and then could be training to be Lane's successor at right tackle. We already know that the Philadelphia Eagles are not shy of taking offensive linemen when they have really good offensive linemen. And that's kind of been their MO. And I think that would be a really good way of saving some money in the future too. But yeah, I don't really understand the logic behind this because, again, this is post Slay and Bradbury. But, I do love Devon Witherspoon. If it ends up working out, then he's a good player. Tennessee Titans going Paris Johnson Jr. I think it's a great choice. I'm not nearly as high on Paris Johnson as other people. I think he has issues with his anchor, and to me, anchor is key in the NFL because if you get pushed back by one dude, it starts becoming a pattern. You have to hold your ground, and there's a big reason why I heard LVE. Lucas Van Ness, LVN, is so popular right now. It's because he uses that one trick pony move of being pure power. And he definitely takes advantage of guys like Paris Johnson who have that 36-inch arms and he has everything going for him, but he cannot hold his ground. And that scares the crap out of me. It really does. And like I can't emphasize that enough. Anchor is super important to me, like very important. There's been some really good tackles that have had some anchor issues here and there, but the consistency, the frequency of good tackles with poor anchors, not very high. You really have to hold your ground in the NFL, and these guys know how to convert speed to power. If you cannot handle pure power, I'm scared shitless when it comes to guys who have a full toolkit. So that's my only concern, but otherwise I think it's a perfectly fine fit. They also drafted left tackle out of Ohio State last year. So, it's cool. It's cool. Definitely, you're still building offensive line. It's still an upgrade regardless of my opinion. Texans going Skoronski. There are rumors of Laramie Tunsil be on the trading block. Obviously, he is up in the air in terms of his future there. I think Skoronski could be used at center if you need to. I think that he'd be perfectly fine there, but at this point, I would try to target more of a raw edge rusher. Some people like to say Lucas Van Ness. I like to say Myles Murphy because we have seen Myles have that god tier power. So take with it as you will. I'm not going to blame him if they go Peter Skoronski, say, hey, we're going to sit you or we're going to stick you to center for a short period of time. 13, the Jets go Broderick Jones. I'm not going to ever complain about about putting Aaron Rodgers behind guys like Broderick Jones. I don't think this is the pick that will be traded. All the signs I've been hearing say that the 13th pick is not what he's worth. And that would be intriguing, but I'm not sure. This could definitely be the Packers pick, but for this one, I'm just going to honor it as is. And Patriots then going Brian Branch. I don't think that's bad at all. I would still go after offensive line. I love Darnell Wright. I love his potential. And it could be definitely a good spot for him to go, but I do understand if you don't want to take offensive tackle 4 at number 14, it makes sense. Packers going Van Ness. It's one of those dream locations for him to go. They're used to developing raw edge rushers into superstars, so I do love what he could be there. Commanders going Anton Harrison. So intriguing because I would say I didn't understand the Wiley move in the first place unless they're moving, Wiley into guard because Cosby did a good job there. And then if you bring on Anton Harrison, you're basically saying, well, bye-bye Charles Leno. And I don't even know what the role of Cosme would then be. If you want to just put him at guard, I feel like it's a waste of talent. Of course, NFL teams don't do everything perfectly, and they could end up wasting Cosme's talent. But Anton Harrison could be a good addition. I'm not going to blame a team for going offensive line. We'll put it that way. I think that going offensive line is never a bad thing. I just don't know if this is the best usage of Anton Harrison, and I don't know if it's the best usage of the guys who are on the roster. Steelers then going DeJuan Jones. It makes sense. I would say Darnell Wright's more of a likely option because he can play guard in the short run, but they did just end up bringing in, I think, Nick Herbig, and you don't really need a guy to play guard anymore if that's the case. DeJuan Jones could be a superstar if developed properly. Lions going Nolan Smith. I can't complain about that at all. I love Nolan Smith. In my most recent 7-round mock draft with the Lions, where I brought Honolulu Blues on, so check that out. It happened a couple days ago. We ended up going Jalen Carter and then Nolan Smith, pairing up the Georgia boys, obviously before the pro day. So I think it's a great fit. Definitely someone who could be a DPR, similar to Houston, but I think he has enough play strength in the run to be able to last on all 3 downs. So love that for Nolan Smith. Tampa Bay Buccaneers going Darnell Wright. I don't really blame. I didn't realize that Donovan Smith's no longer on the team, so that's on me. But Darnell Wright would be a great choice. He's played left tackle, has played right tackle. I think the versatility is insane, and he has time to develop here. So I'm a big fan of that one. Just they brought back Jamel Dean on a very cheap contract. So definitely a big fan of being able to at least fortify the offensive line. Again, you're never going to get me mad an O-line pick. Seahawks going Jackson Smith and Jigba. I already know one of my boys down in the comment section is not going to like this, but I don't think it's bad at all. I really don't. I do think maybe going after, a linebacker at this point seems more likely, but they've been bringing on linebackers left, right, and center in free agency for at least visits. But, Jack Smith and Jigba could be a really good option there and could be the successor of Tyler Lockett when all is said and done to be on the outside. So I don't think it's a bad pick at all. Some pick that I would be willing to do myself. Chargers going Khalil Mack, going Will McDonald. I don't really think Will McDonald's worth this pick. I know he was misused in college, has crazy arm length at 35 inches, and he's very athletic. But 240 pounds, I'm a little bit concerned. I'd rather get that guy who's 250. I think BJ Ojolari would be a little bit better of a replacement for Khalil Mack. So we'll see about that one. But, I don't ever blame teams for going in the trenches. Ravens going Deonte Banks, someone who's been rising up my board up to spot number 27. Big fan of that one. Obviously staying there in Maryland, but if you use him properly, i.e. not in off coverage, because he sucks in off coverage. It's so weird. I would probably label him as a 5th rounder in off coverage at least. But when it comes to him being like face to face, and especially in in press coverage, if he hits his hands properly, that's another thing I've realized. He sometimes misses when he shoots his hands, but if that's refinement, that's practice, and I think the Ravens would be a good spot for that to happen. I think he should be worth a top 15 pick. Genuinely, he has the athleticism and he has that ability. And he's actually really aggressive when it comes to the run game. He has this bunny hop that a lot of Washington corners have that I really do love. And, it's cool to see someone who's willing to take on a tight end too at that about 200-pound frame. So Minnesota Vikings go Quentin Johnston. Obviously, I've decided not to comment on the fact that there are some guys on the board. I'd rather focus on the picks themselves. But Quentin should not be at this point, even though he is. So, let's just assume he does fall here. Minnesota Vikings would be stupid not to take him. Obviously, again, Thielen's gone. You're kind of looking for a true number 2. And Quentin Johnston could be eventually a true boundary 1. So, I love that. You could have 2 really, really good players that complement each other very well there in Minnesota. Pick number 24, the Jaguars are going Cam Smith out of South Carolina. It makes sense. Obviously, pretty damn close to Florida as well, so I'm sure the scouts have seen him plenty. Boundary corner definitely is a good move. Tested in the 4.4s, which is great. Corner 2, with Shaq Griffin being gone, big need. So I do think that boundary corner feels like the lock move for the Jaguars at this point. We'll see who's there. New York Giants going Zay Flowers. I'm a huge fan of it. Some people like Josh Downs. Some people like Zay Flowers. Some people like Jack Smith and Jigba at the point. But I don't think you can go wrong with the wide receiver. Apparently, Darius Slayton is somebody who could be going to Atlanta instead of re-signing with the team. We'll see how that goes. But Bijan Robinson ends up going to the Cowboys. It sucks because obviously I ended up, my only jersey was a rookie year Ezekiel Elliott jersey. And obviously no longer on the team. So, post June 1st. But Bijan Robinson would be incredible. I'd love it. Buffalo Bills then going Osiris Torrance. Yeah, I think they did bring in a guard, if I'm not mistaken, in free agency. However, I never fault a team for going offensive line. Never do. Even if you have a full offensive line, guys get hurt. And you do, sometimes your backups need to be starter quality. That's why the Eagles have been so good as well. Teams like the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl run, they were healthy. You need to have that health. Otherwise, you're going to be the Bengals on your final drive in the Super Bowl. You get absolutely manhandled by, Aaron Donald. I don't think Osiris Torrance is good enough to handle Aaron Donald, but the point still remains. Good offensive linemen matter a lot more than certain other factors. So pick number 28, the Cincinnati Bengals go Darnell Washington. They don't have a tight end anymore. So Hayden Hurst gone. He's out there in Carolina, which is a great move for Carolina. I do think the Bengals, now that you did just sign Orlando Brown, you have that left tackle spot filled up. Right tackle, still a little bit up in the air. I don't know if we can really trust, I'm tripping on his name, but I think Collins there at right tackle. Having Darnell Washington pretty much adds another offensive lineman, and it's very intriguing to see. I think Dalton Kincaid fits a little bit more of that role, a little bit better, but I don't think I'm going to trash the pick very much. Pick number 29, the Saints going Kalijah. They do need D tackle. All of them are gone. I think it's pretty logical to go after one. I would say his 30-inch arms, a little bit worrisome, but he's able to close the gap good enough. So I do like that move because he's able to beat his arm length issue with the fact that he's able to be in your face and close enough by the time your hands are up. Eagles going, I can't say his first name as much as I want to say it, but Adebawore. So he's definitely a really fun option for the Eagles. He's a guy I put there myself. He definitely feels like hyper developmental. He needs some time to develop as a player, but he does have some very big flashes. Obviously, his his testing is insane. So I love it. Big fan of Audible Worried there. Chiefs going Dalton Kincaid. This is actually how I think I ended off one of my mock drafts recently. I think my most recent one. So I'm in full agreement here. Kelsey's getting up there in age. Tight end's a huge thing for the Chiefs anyway. But, getting a wide receiver to pretty much play Juju Smith-Schuster's role as well could be pretty intriguing. And I think Dalton Kincaid has that ability. So going into it a little bit quicker, Steelers going Keanu Benton. I don't really think this is the best move. I like Keanu Benton. Even to the Steelers, I like Keanu Benton. But we did just bring back Larry Ogunjobi on a multi-year deal. For me, I think a linebacker, especially with Miles Jack and Devin Bush gone, there's a comp right now to Ryan Shazier for Trenton Simpson. It'd be pretty cool to see if we can get that back on our roster. Texans going Michael Mayer. Not going to complain about it at all. Cardinals going Jahmyr Gibbs. I think it's a good compliment to James Conner, but I'd prefer getting someone like John Michael Schmitz or like some form of offensive line for the team or a defensive back. So I still think there's still some good ones out there. Colts going to Steve Avila. It feels like something that's a very realistic pick. I like going offensive guard. And once again, I am not going to fault a team for going O-line. B.J. Ojolari to the Rams is a dream fit. You guys obviously can see that if you saw my edge rushing video. He is very, very high on my board, so big fan of that. Then we got the Seahawks going Joe Tippmann. I'm not a fan of Joe Tippmann. I don't know if he's in my top 150. His game versus Michigan State just looked absolutely atrocious, and it's something that, to me, right as of this moment right now, is unforgivable. So, not a big fan of that. Raiders going Luke Musgrave. Makes sense. You pretty much got rid of a better version of him for a third-round pick, but go off. Carolina Panthers going Josh Downs. Obviously staying in Carolina. I think it's a great move. I really do. I love that move for the Panthers. New Orleans Saints going Myles Murphy. Should be going way earlier, but I'm pretty sure that it's Sycamore who does not like taking Myles Murphy, because I saw him to the Saints, I think, in one of their more recent mocks for NFL Stock Exchange. But yeah, Myles Murphy should be going way earlier. To me, he's still a top 10 prospect on my board. Titans then going John Michael Schmitz. Ben Jones is gone. Makes total sense. Perfect fit. Jordan Addison falling to the second round. Actually, I'm working on Jordan Addison's slide right now. Someone who I still think is wide receiver 2. His testing numbers, I don't think, are representative of his talent, because I'm pretty sure he had a spine issue when he was running those. And he's super fluid as a route runner, and kind of sad because I think the tape definitely disagrees with where he's listed at right here. Tuli Tuipulotu for the Jets. If he were 290, that'd be intriguing, but I don't think the Jets need to spend this high of a draft pick on an edge rusher. I have to review their roster, of course, but I don't really think that's necessary. I don't. Atlanta Falcons then going Felix Onyeudike-Uzomah. He's my edge number 4. I'm a big fan of him. I think this is a great pick for them. Definitely, they got some of my top players, my guys who I really love, but I've never put them to these teams. So it feels weird, but I really do like it. Green Bay Packers then going Drew Sanders, another linebacker. It's something I guess they really do need. So Drew Sanders, awesome player. I really do like Drew Sanders. Matt Bergeron to the Patriots does kind of make sense. They do like taking a guy who probably should go a little bit later, but has good enough talent to warrant the selection after he's played for a year. Commanders going Forbes to probably play the slot. I love it. I'm going to be listing him in my slot video, like safeties and slot corners pretty much. It just sucks that he's, 166 pounds. I was hoping it's like the 180. It's like, no, 15 pounds does make a big difference. That is approximately 10% more than he weighs right now. And that does make a serious difference in terms of longevity of your career. I hope that he's able to play at that size, and I hope his playing weight's maybe 175, but it's a little bit worrisome. Brian Breesy falls to number 48. It's a good selection for the Lions. Lions are having a good draft. Obviously, I think that it's more redundant than anything. I would say linebackers should be more of a focus, but it is what it is. Steelers go Keely Ringo. Big fan of that one. Tampa Bay Buccaneers going Jack Campbell. Today, I think after this came out, they re-signed Levante David, but that's a 1-year deal for $7 million. I'm pretty sure Jack Campbell would still be an absolute great addition to this team. Dolphins going Luke Whippler. I'd prefer looking for a right tackle. I don't remember who's on the board, but I'd look for a tackle. Other positions I'd probably try to look at, maybe a linebacker. This team's pretty damn loaded at the moment. Tight end, honestly, is the one that I would probably primarily focus on. And you got guys like Sam Laporta that I think would work perfectly in a Shanahan-style offense. So, to me, I think that's where I'd prefer it. Seahawks going Mozzie Smith, I'm perfectly fine with that, even though they spent already a ton of capital for that defensive interior. Chargers going Jalen Hyatt, makes sense. I don't need to defend that one. Bears going Derek Hall, feels like a move that they would do. I don't know why I've always just thought that Derek Hall has been a Bear ever since I've seen him. So it'd be cool to see that come true. Detroit Lions then going Hendon Hooker in the second. I feel like that'd be a waste of pick. Personally, I think the Lions, it just doesn't fit. I'd rather wait to the third, fourth, fifth to get Tanner McKee, Aiden O'Connell, and just get somebody who fits a little bit more of the system they're running. But of course, you could see your OC leaving. So we'll see about that. Jacksonville Jaguars then going Cody Mauch. I'm fine with that. I like a guard tackle hybrid for him. Giants then adding to their linebacker core with Dian Henley. I forgot Trenton Simpson's on the board, but he is going to the Dallas Cowboys. I love Trenton Simpson. I think the addition of Stephon Gilmore does limit your ability to bring on someone like Bobby Wagner. So intriguing to see that. Bills and going Jamie Robinson. I'm a huge fan of it, but we did just see Jordan Poyer return, and I think Micah Hyde is as well. So I don't know if that's much of a need or that might just be a little redundant. Bengals and going Julius Brents. He's extremely explosive for his size. Someone who I was talking about even versus the game versus Alabama. I was a big fan of him, and during the Senior Bowl, doing a good job too. Bears, and part of their trade, they got Jalen Come on, Trevor. Oh, come on, man. Jalen Duncan's a bum. Straight up. I mean, he's somebody who has some pretty okay athleticism. He didn't even test very well. And he's somebody who, I have my board pretty much up to 150 in terms of its depth right now, and he's at 150. Genuinely, I think he's actually at 148. I just don't understand why people like him. He's a dude he's kind of big. He's old. He's unpolished, and he can't even handle. I purposely did not watch the Michigan game because I saw that Michigan game. I didn't want to study it in depth because of how awful he looked. It's a Bears move to just overdraft someone who should never be drafted there, but I think Jalen Duncan's he's probably going to be cut before his contract is up. Philadelphia Eagles going Sidney Brown. I love it. Sidney Brown is a steal. If you do not get to have Chauncey back, that is an A+++ move. Kansas City Chiefs then going Carl Brooks. I'm a big fan of that as well. Bears going Zach Charbonnet. I dig it. I don't think Zach plays well in the cold weather, though. Obviously, he was not very good there at UM. He had some good games, but he was, I think, PFF's ranked 256 running back in the freshman year. So I do think he deserves being in the warmer climate. And I will say this to PFF because this is something that's been really irritating the hell out of me as well as other people. Please update your picture of him. I've gone to school with Zach. I know what the hell he looks like. And it's the wrong picture. It's honestly quite disgusting the fact that you guys just let that pass. That's awful quality control. And, someone like Zach's caliber, it's not like he's a nobody either. He's a top 70 prospect for a lot of people. So I don't understand why you would have an incorrect picture of him. That just shows pure laziness. And I know it's not Trevor's fault at all, but whoever is running quality control, you need to get your head and ass wired together because, Zach could probably file something because that's just wrong. That's just wrong. You don't, it's been there for months. It's not like it's been there for a week. It's been there for months. And it's quite simply disgusting. I just have a level of respect, especially for PFF, and they totally butchered it on someone like Zach Charbonnet's. It's just a picture, dude. Straight up fix the picture. And it's not that hard. And people have been saying it. I've tweeted at them on Twitter. It's not like it's an unknown issue. People have commented it in my comment section. So it's actually quite disgusting that PFF has that. So if there is anybody from PFF watching, get your head and ass wired together, man. Straight up. You guys are better than that. Houston Texans and going Keon White. I think that's a great move. I would love to see D'Amico Ryans with his hands on Keon White. Pause. Arizona Cardinals going Tyreek Stevenson. Perfect fit. I think my comp for him is probably going to be Patrick Peterson. So I actually have to edit that because I think I put an NA. And, I do think Pat Pete could be a really good option for a comparison. Denver Broncos then going Jordan Battle and Cedric Tillman. I don't like Jordan Battle very much, but they are looking for safeties, so it does make sense that it would at least be in the safety market. Cedric Tillman could be, a more affordable option than the receivers they do have. Rams going Blake Freeland. It makes sense. I like it. I used to do it in the second round. Raiders going Darius Rush does make sense as well. I don't know why. It's just one of those guys where you hear about it. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. Tank Dell to the Saints. I love it. Obviously, he didn't test as well as we hoped for. I don't understand about that one because he moves so fluidly. I got to give him respect. Respect is due. He plays much better than those stats say. Tennessee Titans, Michael Wilson. It's cool to get another big body guy, but I don't know if I want another guy who's slower than 4.55. I don't think I really do. I don't really want the Twin Towers that are just walking very slowly for the team right there. Houston Texans then going Tyjae Spears. So another third round steal running back. It is what it is. Jets going Antonio Johnson would be great. You could even put him at linebacker, but that was until he put up 8 bench press reps. Pretty pathetic. Falcons going Chris Smith. Intriguing that you're bringing in another safety. You have 2 young ones and just brought in Jesse Bates. Now you're bringing in a 4th safety. I disagree with that. But you could use Chris Smith as a pure slot corner because I know that Isaiah Oliver is gone. And that's the only way that I would agree with it. But Foskey for the Patriots, I like it. I would usually put Foskey to the Patriots. Fine with that one. Rams going Garrett Williams. He's a guy who was a top 15 player for me before his ACL tear. I love it. Packers, Laporta, dig it. Eli Ricks to the Colts. I'm a huge fan of that one as well. I do think he'd fit very well on the Colts. So, big fan of that one. Steelers going Gervin Dexter. Another defensive interior, man. We just signed one. And we have another. And we have another guy we drafted in the 3rd last year. Come on, Trevor. You're better than this. You know that. I don't think Gervin Dexter fits at all with what the Steelers are looking for, especially if you brought on Keanu Benton. Again, linebacker. Let's rock one out, man. Linebacker. You go another wide receiver. There's just better options. You can go a scat running back like Devon Achane. I really don't like that one myself. Zach Harrison for the Lions, another edge rusher, I believe. But, good depth piece. And again, you're being redundant, but it is with a valuable position. Devon Achane for the Buccaneers would be really cool to see him and Keyshawn Vaughn. Seahawks going Siaki Ika, the bum himself, Mr. 7-Eleven. Y'all know I'm Siaki Ika's number 1 smallest fan. We'll just put it that way. I'd rather not be called a hater, but I have said that you can just go up to 7-Eleven and get one of those fat dudes who are standing outside and probably do the exact same thing. Absolutely ineffective, very unathletic, and I just don't think that works in the NFL. Dolphins going Tyler Scott. He's a burner, but he didn't test like a burner, which was very intriguing. The entire class seemed to be a little bit on the slower side. I don't understand that. Chargers going Tyler Steen. A bit early for him, but a veteran tackle. Never a bad thing. Moro Jomo to the Ravens. The Ravens can draft whoever the fuck they want. They're really damn good. I prefer a DB like Clark Phillips to add there with Deontay Banks. Yeah. So I think that would be a great fit for Clark Phillips just to be, another DB. But it is what it is. Vikings getting him is awesome. I know they just released their slot corner. So good fit. Tucker Kraft for the Jaguars. It's 88th pick. You're going on after a tight end in a thinner tight end class in terms of the depth at this point. Tucker Kraft is not bad at all. Jarrett Patterson for the Giants. Never going to blame a team for drafting O-line, even though I think it's a bit early. Jacqueline Roy, it's pick 90, and I do think he has upside, someone who is supposed to be a first-round pick. Bills getting Chase Brown. I'd love it. He's staying, I believe, into New York. So he used to play in the cold weather, and he dominated there for Syracuse. Jair Brown for the Bengals. It makes sense. It does. It sucks that they lost both of their safeties, but we'll see what Dax Hill has in the tank. Byron Young for the Panthers. I do love that move. Hyper athletic, can play that role that Hassan Reddick used to play. I'm a big fan. Frankie Louvu also up for a contract after this year. Eagles going Parker Washington. Kind of like your Deebo Samuel. I'm intrigued to see how you use him. It'd probably be a wide receiver 4 behind A.J. Brown, though. Kansas City Chiefs going Nick Herbig. Does not fit their standard profile of a 265-plus edge rusher, but, it's pick 95, and he's pretty solidly athletic. Cardinals then going Andrew Voorhees, tore his ACL, but put up the most bench press reps. Somebody who was my offensive lineman, number 1 starting out the year. Not so much. Didn't have a great year. Been riddled with injuries. But, I would love it. You're playing the long game with the Cardinals. That's a great way to get great value. Rashee Rice to the Commanders. I just hope he has a role there, but I do understand that, you're getting really good value for that price. Cleveland Browns then going Byron Young from Bama. I don't think they need to go that way, but defensive interior is a position I would go for. I'm just not as high on Byron Young, but he's not bad. Just, I don't know if I'd spend pick 98 on him. Niners going THT. I don't really get that after signing Isaiah Oliver because THT is also a slot, but it depends on the role of Isaiah Oliver, and it is probably BPA. Raiders going, I've never seen Antonio Mark's name, so I cannot comment that, but y'all know it's O-line, so at least it's, it is what it is. Alusagun fits the Niners to me very well. Pretty sure they just re-signed Brendel, but Alusagun's a beast. Love that. And then, of course, the Niners are taking Ivan Pace Jr., who I have right here at spot number 51 on my big board. I'm a big Ivan Pace Jr. fan. So that is going to be the draft. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side.